So, welcome to this live Facebook. My name's Sherry Forsyth, and I'm a life and peak performance coach. And today we're doing the fifth part in the series on this book, which is called The 5 Things We Cannot Change and the Happiness We Find by Embracing Them. And the author is David Richo. Really, this is a book that would be lovely to have in your own bookshelves, because there's such a wealth of wisdom that he imparts in the pages. So if you are a book-loving person, this is maybe one you need. So today what we're speaking about is that it's the fifth given that David Richo speaks about, that people are not loving and loyal all the time. So this is a very huge topic and probably quite a controversial one as well. So I'm going to just touch on a few things today. And I'm going to start with a quote that he starts his chapter on. The quote is by James Hillman, and it goes as follows. For we must be clear that to live or love only where one can trust, where there's absolute security and containment, where one cannot be hurt or let down, where what is pledged in words is forever binding, means really to be out of harm's way, and so to be out of real life. Okay, that's the important thing, to be out of real life. And it does not matter what is this vessel of trust, analysis, marriage, church or law, or any human relationship. Okay, so I think I want to start by asking you a question. Are you loving and loyal all the time? Think about it. Are you loving and loyal always? And I'm willing to put my head on a block that the answer to that question will be actually no, I'm not loving and loyal all the time. I might be very committed in my relationships, but I'm not loving and loyal all the time. And if that is the answer to the question, welcome to humanity. We need to embrace this humanness of the fact that we aren't perfect, that we can't be loving and loyal all the time. And so if we ourselves are not loving and loyal all the time, how can we expect it of others? So, and we do, we do expect it of others. So in doing that, what we're doing is we really are setting ourselves up for failure. But so let's explore this a little bit more. Being loving and loyal refers to our relationships in business, within our friends, within our families, as well as our romantic relationships. And Hollywood, sadly, creates this illusion of, you meet your, soulmate, and then forever after you're going to be living this romantic love story where you always are going to be caught in those first flushes of love, and it's going to stay like that forever. Or you meet a friend and you know that friend is going to be a lifelong friend of yours forever and ever. And so because we then buy into the information that Hollywood is selling us, we set ourselves up for failure. Okay? We are chasing the perfection, the illusion that everything is going to be absolutely 100% perfect. But we know that there is no such thing as perfection. Okay? So expecting ourselves and also others to always be loving and loyal is impossible. So what the first point I want to make is that we need to embrace that humanness and realize that most people cannot be loving and loyal all the time. Part of growing up, part of emotional maturity is that we realize that people have the capacity, ourselves included, to disappoint, because they're not perfect. We are all human. We all make mistakes. So people have got the capacity to disappoint by lying, by cheating, by being disloyal, by betrayal. The list goes on and on and on. And many times it might not be an intentional hurt. But if we are going to be reaching emotional maturity or growing up as far as the way we negotiate our life is concerned, then instead, once we've been hurt, instead of immediately going to what our humanist tells us to do, which is to judge others, to retaliate, to exact retribution, but that is the sign of somebody who emotionally is immature. So if we want him to be mature emotionally, what we need is to be able to receive that betrayal or that hurt without retaliation, without judgment, okay? Without retaliation and without judgment. And that is really very difficult. So also our challenge is to feel the hurt. So even though we're accepting that everybody's going to be doing this to everybody else, it doesn't mean to say we block it off and say, oh, well, that's okay. You know, I've been very badly hurt, but that's fine. Okay. We will feel the pain, and we need to feel the pain so that the emotion does its work in us and helps us to grow and helps us to be better people. So when we feel that betrayal, we're not going to run away. We're not going to retaliate. Okay. Instead of, how's this? Okay. Instead of us expecting everyone to love us, which we've got no control over because we can't control what others do to us. So instead of expecting everyone to love us, we can choose to love everyone. Okay? It is within our power to choose to view others with kindness and compassion. And so that is the challenge, the big challenge for today. We can choose that. So even when people have betrayed us, we can still choose to treat them with kindness and compassion. And as I say, a lot of these things are easy to talk about in theory. In reality, it is very difficult to do. So what David Richo is saying in his book is that when we say yes to the fifth given of not everybody is loving and loyal all the time, he's saying that we can't guarantee the positive, loving, kind, loyal responses of everyone. And when we realize that, we can let go of the need to try and control them, because we can't. Okay, so we can't let others' actions determine or affect our own self-worth. Okay, so we know there's a whole variety of actions, good and bad, and that's part of being human, and we do it as well as other people do it. So there's a variety of actions that will be part of the way we live our lives. It's part of being human. But we don't need to allow others, because of the fact that they might not love us or they might be disloyal, for that to affect our own self-worth. Okay, remember, this is their stuff, not our stuff. So the challenge is, instead of getting angry and wanting to retaliate, to be able to grow through the difficulty and the hardship. Okay, so for example, if you have been betrayed very badly by a long-time friend, the challenge is not to feel the resentment, not to feel the anger, and we all will, okay? Sorry, the challenge is not to not feel it, because we will feel the hurt and the pain. But instead of acting on those negative emotions of the anger or the resentment, the challenge is to grow through it, to realize that it's their stuff, not necessarily my stuff. And in doing that, I'm not going to judge them, because remember, we don't know everything that's happening in other people's lives. So we can't judge them. We don't want to judge them. What gives us the right to judge them? How arrogant. Okay? So we're not going to judge them. We are going to feel the pain, because it is going to be sore. And so if we expect that people are not going to be loving and loyal all the time, we know that part of living is we are going to be let down by people. Okay? We expect that this is part of living. We don't expect perfection. And then when perfection doesn't happen, we beat ourselves up. Okay, remember, there is no perfection. So I would be willing to lay my head on a block that there's not one person in this whole world who has never been on the receiving end of disloyalty or betrayal or hurt. As we learned in the part 4 of this book, life is about pain and suffering. It's part of who we are. So if we are trying to make our relationships, whether they're business, friends, with your beloved, perfect and always loving and loyal, we are setting ourselves up for failure. And the minute it's not perfect, we're going to think, oh, there must be something so wrong with me. No, it's part of our humanness. And if we can embrace that instead of fighting it, so instead of fighting for the perfect fairy tale love story, which is we're going to end up being disappointed, because it's not sustainable. It's not even attainable. So instead of striving for that kind of perfection, we say yes to the 5th given of David Richo, which is that people are not loving and loyal all the time. So I just want to say that I'm not saying that we must say yes to any behavior that comes our way. I'm not saying that we need to say yes to abuse. I am not condoning betrayals and hurts and affairs and disloyalty. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it is part of our human condition. And instead of fighting it, we need to embrace it, and we need to learn from it. I hope that makes sense. So as you are listening to this video, if you can think of what you do when you have been betrayed or hurt, I would love a comment in the comments box. So essentially, when you have been hurt, do you withdraw? Do you come out guns blazing? Do you beat yourself up? Do you tell your sob story to anybody and everybody who will listen? In other words, remember, that was the process called flooding that Brené Brown talks about. What do you do when you are sitting with the betrayal, with the hurt? Okay? I want you to ponder that for a little bit. So, if we can accept that others are inadequate, and that being said, we ourselves are also inadequate, we let go of unrealistic expectations of ourselves and of them. How liberating. So we're not going to expect them to be perfect. We're not going to expect them to be our perfect lover. We're going to expect them to be human. They are, and so are we. So we need to kind of break away from the Hollywood fairy tales. We need to realize that life is as it is. And the mature part of us is needed in a crisis, the emotionally mature part. So that's what we're talking about today, to be emotionally mature instead of being revengeful and judgmental and all of those words which lock us into a cycle of negativity. What we're going to do is we're going to rather be led by the whole concept of loving kindness or compassion for ourselves and for others. And if we are kind to others, it's much easier to let go of a hurt. So in a crisis, we need that emotionally mature part of ourselves. We don't need the needy part, okay? If we are needy, then we are asking for trouble. So my challenge today is to try and embrace that emotional maturity, okay? To try and embrace that emotional maturity, and in other words, to understand why that person might be behaving the way they are, and realizing it has nothing to do with your self-worth most of the time. Okay, so difficult concepts, easy to speak about, very difficult to do, but it can be done. Okay, it can be done. And how do I know that? Because I've had to walk this in very major ways. And I've had to train myself into the loving kindness. It doesn't just come naturally. Okay. So there are many, just to end off today, there are many tools and exercises that can be given to people who are suffering a difficulty. I'm just going to share one with you today, which is very simple. You don't even need to have a book, pen, and paper to try and remember it, but it can be incredibly valuable. And this is what it is. To sit mindfully for 15 minutes, less if you find 15 minutes too long, but to sit mindfully for 15 minutes or so with your situation, okay? You're going to be calm. You're not going to be judging. You're not going to be wishing it was otherwise. You're not going to be trying to look for solutions and trying to fix it. You're just going to be with the situation. You're going to allow the situation and the emotions that come from it to do their positive work. You're not going to try and block the emotions. Okay, you're going to feel them. You're not going to try and block anything. You're just going to let them come into your awareness, and then gently you're going to allow them to go. Okay, so you're going to be very real in the situation as it is, no bells and whistles, no false perceptions, the reality of the situation as it is, and you're going to really experience it. And the reason that this is such a valuable exercise is it allows us to really learn the lesson. It allows us to experience what life is throwing out at us. And if we experience it and learn the lesson, it's not likely to be repeated again. Okay? As we live our lives, if we don't learn the lesson, that lesson will come over and over and over again with different people in different situations. And what we want to say is, okay, we get it. We are going to learn this lesson right now. So this exercise of sitting mindfully for 15 minutes is a very easy to do. Well, it's an easy thing to do. You don't need any fancy information, or it's very simple. So experience it as it is and just sit with it. Don't try and change things. Don't try and fix things. Just experience it as it is. And in doing that, we are teaching our souls the lessons that they need to learn. So I hope that you found this video to be thought-provoking or helpful. And if so, as always, I ask you please to share it. I also ask for any comments that you might have. If you kind of like the type of things that I'm saying, I ask you to join my YouTube channel. And also to ask you to pop onto my website, which is www.sherryforsythcoaching.com. Or if you want a little bit more of a personal comment, you're welcome to contact me via my email or send me an email on Sherry Forsyth, spelled CHERRIFORSYTH, sherryforsyth@gmail.com. So I challenge you to go out into the world and to the week challenged to live your life with loving kindness, with compassion, with acceptance, all those lovely soft words that make such a difference in our happiness. So thank you very much for listening to this video, and until next week, when I'm going to do kind of a roundup of all of these 5 givens of David Richo. We're going to do a final conclusion of all of these together. I will do that next Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock. If you have any comments, suggestions, ideas, or whatever, I'm very happy for you to share them. And thank you once again.